Start.
All good? Hey everyone, hi, good morning, and welcome to today's Expert Talks. My name is Niraj, and I'll be talking about pair programming with AI. Short introduction on myself. I'm Niraj Chauhan. I'm working for a company called Travelopia. So, Travelopia is a specialist holiday company which basically takes their customer to experience the travel. For example, you can think of a travel where you are kayaking on a icy cold water in one of the polar region, exploring polar bears and penguin, or booking a private yacht or a private jet to enjoy your family vacation, or hopping islands just to play golf. So that's all about Travelopia. Uh, yeah, today's topic is all about pair programming with AI, right? So that's something we are doing, partnering with equal experts in Travelopia. So thought of sharing that today with all of you. So before we begin with what is AI, pair programming and all, let's dive little start from the basic. So I want to start from something like what are exactly are LLMs. So basically LLMs are nothing but just large language models which are trained on massive databases. So the intention of these LLMs are to generate the output with a human way. Like if I ask what is XYZ, it will answer you what exactly is that, right? So that is all about LLMs into. They are trained on a very big algorithms and data models, and the idea is to converse with it using plain English, just like how we do with human interaction. Uh, how internally it works, it's more on the side of understanding. Uh, Basically, you have a large amount of data getting processed and getting stored in a vector database, and these embeddings are then used for as a knowledge way, like how our brains actually work. Like we learn basically from childhood all the way till here, and we keep storing all those learnings in our brains. That's exactly how LLMs also work under the hood. Now, when we talk about using LLMs to our coding or anything, right, or even just a normal question answer thing, there are two important pillars on which LLMs work. So, very first is the prompt engineering. So that's the very start. Like if you want to ask something to an LLM, you need to understand what you want to ask. How do you frame your question? And that brings a very valuable thing, because if I'm talking to a person also and I want to ask something, I'll make sure that I'm framing it in the right way. And the prompt engineering goes hand in hand with the context. What context actually I want to share, based on which the LLM can answer my question. So to give an example, you can think of I'll give you two scenarios. So very first scenario is like, if I ask an LLM, plan me an itinerary for Paris, it might do a job which you might not like it, right? If you ask just a LLM, plan me an itinerary for Paris, it doesn't have the context from where you're traveling, how many people are traveling and whatnot. But now if you just change your prompt with having some more context, plan me an itinerary to travel to Paris for a couple from Bangalore for their 10th anniversary, and they're looking for a culinary experience or a romantic experience, then the LLM might do a very good job. And then you can continue further to refine it based on your requirement. Like, I want this flight, or I want my budget is XYZ, I want 3-star hotel, 4-star hotel. So it's very important to understand how you want to prompt and in what context. Remember, you also don't want to share bigger context. So in the same Paris itinerary example, let's say if you give 100 PDFs of Paris itineraries, and these are the mixture of itineraries which are like teenage focused, old age people, bachelor party and whatnot, right? And you're giving too much of context and then asking a planner itinerary for a romantic couple, that might not do a good job, because you're bombarding the context with lot of data which you want to limit. So remember, right prompt engineering with right context will give you better answers. This is the ground rule to work with LLM. Doesn't matter whether you're writing a code using LLM or you're basically asking a simple question to ChatGPT. So to give you another example of this, I'll bring you an analogy of how we generally onboard a developer to our team. Right, most of our people are here tech, and let's say that there's a new developer joining. I have just came up with a name called Deepak. So I'll give you again two scenarios. In the first scenario, I'll just say that Deepak has joined the team, and I'm the tech lead of that particular project. If I just tell him, hey Deepak, welcome to the team. This is the GitHub repo. this is the Jira link, go and implement the feature. And that GitHub repo, it's a mono repo with 20 microservices in it. This developer will struggle now. And I might come back to the recruiter by saying that, oh, it's not a great hire because he's struggling. But in practicality, my onboarding was not the right way. But in the second scenario, if I do in the other way, where I basically say, hey Deepak, welcome to the team. This is a GitHub repo, this is a Jira link. Let's work together to implement this feature. Now I sit with Deepak, I make him understand the product all about. There are 20 microservices, but ignore those 20. The main area for this feature is these 2 microservices. Why don't you go ahead and read the README or some documentation, understand the packet.json to understand what libraries are there. Now what I'm doing, I'm helping him to understand what the project is all about. Forget about the feature development for now. And this way, generally, we do onboarding in our teams. And this will be really helpful for Deepak also to understand what we are talking, what we are working, what is the product all about. That way, Deepak will get more context. And at the end of third, fourth day, I will not be surprised if he raises a pull request and I am here to review it. So these are the 2 major differences that when you interact with LLM, just treat as someone is there. Don't just treat as a machine or a robot who is going to answer whatever you ask. This brings to the most important thing, like, how do we code with LLM? So now I'm sure a lot of people have just gone to ChatGPT and asked, like, write me this function, and we take the code and maybe search some error and whatnot, right? That's one way of looking at it. There's also a new concept which is coming called vibe coding. And we are very far from vibe coding yet, I would say. Again, that's my personal opinion. A lot of people are embracing that. The statement of vibe coding is more like, you just ask LLM to write the code and don't review it at all. It might write it in the machine level language, or it might write in assembly, or even something really old language. For you, what concerns is the output of that. So if I prefer, let's say, JavaScript or a Java-based thing, but it might end up writing in .NET, that's not my concern. So that's all about vibe coding. You ask it, it will write the code, and you just check the output. LLM and also the human have to reach that maturity level where we completely adopt this vibe coding. We are far from that, but let's see how LLMs grows in the future and how we actually dwell into it. Yeah? Mike.
Hi, thank you for letting us know the whiteboarding thing. You said that you need to check the output. So for that also you need to create the test cases. Who is writing those test cases?
I don't care. In the vibe coding, I don't care whether it's test cases are written or not. See, think from this perspective that a business, when asks developers that, go and create this product, business is never going to review whether test cases are added, have they done TDD or dry or whatever principle, right? They just care about what is the output, and if something doesn't work, they ask the developer that this is not working or there is a bug, please fix it. That's the whole idea how developer interacts with LLM when the vibe coding construct comes into place.
But developer will expect some test cases. As a developer, you will write some
Those
test
are
cases.
the prompts you can give. Okay, that when you are writing the code, you have to give a persona to that particular AI, right? LLM, that you are a senior developer, you cannot mess up with the code, you have to think about the code quality. So when this goes to the production, it works fine if there are any bugs. So these are the persona which you have to give it to the LLM so that it can understand.
Okay, so I have to do the prompt properly.
Yeah, that's where the prompting comes.
Thank you.
Again, with vibe coding, your prompting is still there because there needs to be still a person who basically gives these commands. Okay.
So just to add on to what Niraj said, I think there are tools which actually allow you to. So obviously, you can say that in addition to that, can you write end-to-end tests using, let's say, Playwright, right, which is the raise right now compared to Selenium and others. So you can say write Playwright and generate dashboard with errors or whatever, right? So all the sonar and other things. So that is one thing that you can do. Other thing is you can directly integrate these with backend service, right? Because cloud is there. So for example, Replit and others. Replit is a service by or V0 by Vercel. V0 is by Vercel. So they will just host it for you, right? So they combine vibe coding and vibe deployment, I would say, right? So then it's just ready to test, in some sense. And the second prompt can be just test it in production. You can ask it to kind of AI ops, right? So you can ask it to create alerts, etc., when it is down, etc. So all of those are provided by another service, for example Replit, V0, etc. So I think, yeah, so that's the beauty of vibe coding. And it's still early days, right? Yeah, yeah, as he was saying. So but it's exciting. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for that. So yeah, we are at a very initial stage where we can say that we want to adopt vibe coding. There are already people who are doing it, but I don't know if they are doing it for production system or a pet project. That depends. So that
So this term was coined by the guru, right? So by Andre Karpathy. So obviously, you have to listen to what he says. So I think he talks about a little bit more of future, but there are many use cases where it is already being used in production. So, but the enterprise production is not there so far. But I would say, again, since it is by one of the best educators, top 10 educators, right? So I think it's there to stay. So it does not go away for sure. So that I can say for sure, right? So if Andre
Andrej
Karpathy.
Karapati. Andrej Karapati. So yeah, so that brings the topic, like, if not vibe coding, what are we exactly doing, right? So there's a concept what we actually call in Travelopia is called, like, why is not changing? AI assisted coding. So what exactly this means is that you pair with the AI or the LLM in this case, you brainstorm the things with the LLM and try to make it understand that what we want to get it delivered. See, the problem with vibe coding is that we don't know what kind of code is getting generated, and because it's a full play area for AI also, we have seen scenarios it has created good amount of code. Recently, I saw that someone created a product for a recipe based thing, and it was made by AI, and one of the recipe had cyanide as a one of the component. Okay, so yeah, so there are like lot of down cons, I would say, for vibe coding, but it still works for a lot of people and they are trying it out. So that's why we are something calling as AI assisted coding, where we basically do the pair programming with AI. Now, coming to a small factor of what is pair programming. Pair programming is a concept where two developers sit together and try to deliver the or write the feature. Now there are a lot of ways, but one good way of doing is like using a driver navigator way, where there's a navigator who basically helps to navigate the code base, navigates the entire feature, talks about it, and the other way, other person is a driver who just talks about writing the code. That's exact principle you have to take with the AI assisted coding, where you become the navigator and AI becomes the driver. So you can guide the AI, because AI doesn't know anything about your code base. It might be in a private Git repository, so it will not have any idea. That's where you navigate that this feature is about this. You can write the code in this file. The tech stack is XYZ. That's where AI assisted coding comes into place. Before we start with the AI assistant code, there is a very important rule of having a product hat versus developer hat. So now you have to start switching your hats. So far in our projects, we might be just getting a Jira ticket or Trello ticket, and we start working on it, right, as a pair programming. But when you start working with LLM, there's an important role to have a product hat up along with the developer hat. So when you start talking or pairing with LLM, you have to give the product constructs to the LLM first, so that it understands what are we building. And then once it understands and everything, then you basically ask the LLM to start writing the code. And there's a good transition from how you start from developer all the way till product all the way till developer. So that's what I'm going to demo now. Uh, so what I am going to do is I'm having a particular project which I've created. So I'll be using a tool called Cursor. So Cursor is a particular editor built on top of VS Code. Again, it has a lot of agentic approach to write a particular code. So that's what I'm going to demo. I have this basic app. I'll just show you small glimpse of it. One second. I'll just have to. So I've just created a simple chat application, and I can ask hi and send a message, and it basically talks to a LLM and gives you the response. I'm using a simple AWS Bedrock for the LLM, and I'm using Sonnet 3.7 over here. So what we are going to do over here now is like we are going to build a feature on top of it using how we can pair program with the LLM. The idea now here is to like see the process how we are doing it and how we are using the tool called Cursor. There are a lot of editors like Cursor. There's Windsurf, there's Cursor. There is a lot of extensions called Client, Roo Code, which will help you to do this. But we have found based on our experience that Cursor is really good and it's coming with a lot of new features every day by day. So every day there is some update which is there in Cursor. So the feature which we are going to implement is right now, if you see, there is no way where I can upload an image and ask AI to describe that image, right? So that's what we are going to build. So as I said, we have to wear a product hat and then we have to wear a developer hat. So that's what we are going to do. So very first thing, I'll go to an ask mode in Cursor because I don't want anything to write code right now because I just want to brainstorm the idea with it. And I'll switch to a thinking mode, which is the reasoning model. And I have few prompts which are ready. I'll share that. Oops. Yeah. So again, these are the initial prompts, kind of a persona, what you have to give it to the LLM. I hope you guys are able to read it. One second. Is it readable? Okay. So what I'm just telling to the LLM is that you are my product owner and you're going to partner with me to build this particular feature. And what I'm also guiding it like ask me questions. Now this is the most important thing, to ask LLM to ask us the question about the feature. And there's nothing about code right now. We don't need to give anything about the code, but we can start with a particular thing. It's very important to set the boundaries for the LLM because if you don't do that, it can go till full extent. So this is the initial prompt I have, and I'm just going to share the idea. Uh, So I'm just saying I'm having this chat application. I'll just tag my packet.json file, which can understand what exactly the libraries are now used. Again, this is for just setting the boundaries so that it doesn't go to some different extent. So it understands I'm using AWS Bedrock, I'm using Versal AI SDK for using the chat.
So packet.json has been created
By the way, this entire project is created by AI. So
I mean cursor itself.
yeah.
Packet,
So
right? So
yesterday I was doing this. So
okay.
if you
Thank you.
see over here,
Okay. Okay.
yeah. So there are entire history. And I want to implement a feature to upload images and then uh, send it to. Okay, I've just. So this is a simple prompt I'm giving. Again, a lot of times when you start pairing with LLM, you'll understand that you might have to give much more detail. But the good point of Cursor is you can go back to that checkpoint and add more context and continue from there. So I'll just start with this. So if you see, there is a thinking, planning steps what Cursor, the LLM, again not the Cursor but the LLM is doing it. So it says, I understand you want to implement the image upload functionality that connects with the LLM image chat. What's the primary use case or goal for sending images? So I can just yes, just to. This is when you start using your product hat to brainstorm the idea. This is also very important so that the LLM gets a context what we are trying to build over here. And it's only we are talking about image, we're not talking about a PDF file or a video file or a GIF. Yeah, so the reason I have given a package.json is because of this. I can provide more data to it. So I can just say that, @route.ts file, just Again, I'm going step by step. I didn't bombarded it with all the code and everything. So just taking it step by step will actually help you to not hallucinate. There is a one major issue with a lot of LLMs, and people blame LLMs for that, which is of hallucination, but that's not the truth. The truth is that you have provided too much of context, and that's why it starts hallucinating. So yeah, so looking at your code, I'm using Claude 3.7, server-side streaming, text generation, simple message. Yeah. For image analysis, would you prefer to use upload images from the chat interface? Let's keep it simple. Now the reason it's asking drag and drop images or having an upload button is also now kind of a slicing and dicing, right? Like I don't want a big feature right now which implements another JavaScript library to support the drag and drop and all those things. So that's the beauty of having this kind of a conversation, so that you can set the boundary that I want to keep it simple. Oops. So now it's starting to create a plan that how to implement this. So the plan something looks like, according to LLM, like, there will be a button to upload the image. When you click, it opens a file selector. Once selected, user can add optional context with the image. When sent, both image and text goes to Claude 3.7 Sonnet for analysis. Since you're already using, okay, what specific image analysis are most important for you? Let the chat message decide that. So I don't want it to over-engineer by adding all these extra prompts internally. So that's why I'm just saying let the chat message decide it. Yeah. Would you like to prioritize any specific UX aspects for the feature? No. Let's keep it simple. I image. If we wouldn't have done all these things and asked it to write the code, it would have implemented all the progress bar, multi-image support, drag and drop, and all those things. And this is where you might start struggling that I've never asked for it. Why are you doing it? Yeah. Yes. Along with this, I also have something which I've prepared as like, how internally the AI SDK works. I've added a markdown file, which basically I just prepared it because I didn't want it to have to and fro a lot of time because of the shortage of the time. So I'm going to provide that as well. It's nothing but it basically just talks about how exactly this integration can be done. So how you basically pass it. This is one way of providing a data because this came out based on my POC, what I did. The other way is that you can provide the documentation directly from that. So you can use something like @docs, and you can just say something like, I have this already added. So cursor gives you all these features where you can go and add the documentation. Yeah. So you can, if let's say that you have a particular integration with a third party and it has an option, it has a documentation, you can just click on it, give a particular documentation URL, and it basically indexes everything. So let's say you're using a tailwind and you want the tailwind to be understood by the LLM. So now when you provide that tailwind documentation, it understands, okay, there are classes for padding, there are classes for flexbox or grid or whatnot. Yeah.
Can I provide internal Confluence page or something like that for it to index? I mean, private.
I would suggest in that case, just export as a PDF and put it in your source code and
Oh yeah, okay.
just
Yeah.
let the cursor chat read it. Yeah, so that's what I'm going to do. So if you see, I've not added that file, so I'm going to just, yes, yes, I'll just say, just providing the right amount of context, because we are only talking about the image, because the documentation might have image, video, PDF, and the documentation also has for OpenAI, Anthropic, and everything, right? Okay, now basically this plan looks good to me, and I can just say that, this is, can you can you create a plan to this feature? This is where you will instruct that you want test cases and all those things, right? I'm just going to keep it simple right now by not adding that complexity, because it will take much more time for the cursor to write all those things. Code as simple as possible. So this is how it is going to, oh, it also started estimating it 2-3 days of work and whatnot. But this is how it will say, like, first there will be a front end change where it will have a image upload functionality, then API route change, then integration and testing. And now I can just say that I'll go to a agent mode now, because I want it to start doing it, and I'll switch to from thinking. So it's better that when you're going to an agent mode, stop the thinking way, because your thought process is already done. Now you're going to transition to a developer hat. Perfect. Just ignore the testing part right now. Another thing, if you notice, it also suggested integration testing and all those things. It's up to you now to decide what all kind of things you want, because let's say you have a different way of integration testing which is not in this code base, it might start adding it. So that's the boundary again you have to set. Do you really want it to do it over here, or there's a different way of getting it done, or you don't even care about integration right now at this stage? So I'm just going to say perfect, just ignore the integration testing part right now. I'll just switch from this to, oops. I don't know how do I work. Okay, let it be. Okay. So now this is when it will start generating code for you. So it has understood that it's a Next.js based project. So it will start creating a component uh, for it. So if you go to this page.tsx file, it will start adding the code. We'll just, yeah. Another good thing is that it will ask you for accepting a particular change. In case if let's say that that code is something not looking good, you can basically make that change. This is a place where you will start reviewing, like as a developer, because you're also navigating now, you have to make sure that kind of code what it is using, it has generated, it is working fine. So say there were some linter errors, it's trying to fix the linter errors now. Yeah, this will take some time now. But meanwhile, if anyone has questions, maybe they can ask.
What is the thinking mode? Because when I'm writing any code in, let's say, Go,
Yeah.
and what if I want to use slices instead of array? So, so there are different data structures.
Yeah.
So why I don't want to add thinking mode in agent mode?
See, thinking is majorly using the internal feature called reasoning model. Okay, and reasoning models are basically questioning them the answer what it is generating. and it basically does that based on the previous context or the history what you have shared, right? Now, in this approach, when you have already discussed everything together, there's no point of in the agent mode to reason it. Also, because let's say there was a reason why it not to choose drag and drop because I suggested that. But if you enable reasoning over here in the agent mode, it might ignore that. I say no. According to my reason, it's a better UX way of having that drag and drop feature. And to answer your question that how do we suggest the data type and all, that's where your cursor rules come into place. So cursor has something called as cursor rules. See, every developer has their own style of working and that gets adopted by the team. For example, you're linting in JavaScript, you want to use single quotes or double quotes, or at the end you want a semicolon or not. These are some linting practices what you want to write. So generally we use ESLint and all those things. But there are some additional practice as well. For example, if I want to do a type check, I want it to happen via Lodash rather than manually doing it if equal to undefined, if not equal to null, if not equal to length or whatnot, right? I'll use Lodash. So these are the rules which I want to follow. So in your case also, if you prefer slice over a normal array, you can set that as a rule. But if it's a one of the exceptional case that, for this particular use case, I need that, let it write the code and then you can suggest it. Instead of this, make a change where you want a slice. Yeah, it is doing a lot of things. Yeah.
Where is packet dot
Sorry?
packet dot md or something was there, right? So
No, there's
will
a.
it modify that? I mean, now that you
So
have
basically, if you see in the plan, right, there was no decision where it said I want to install an additional library or something like that. So for example, it suggested integration testing it wants. I said don't do that. If I would have said continue the integration testing, it would have installed a new package for integration testing. And that's why your packet.json gets updated.
packet.json, is it cursor specific or is it TypeScript
No, this is
specific?
no. So basically, packet.json is your manager for your application, which controls what all SDKs or external packages you're using in that project.
Okay, so even if I don't use cursor, there will still be something called
Yeah,
packet.
something. For
Oh,
example, if you're
something like
using
requirements.txt in Python. Okay.
exactly, yeah, something
Okay,
like
thank you. Thank
requirements.txt.
you.
So my question is basically when you are in the reasoning model, right, and you have to explicitly give it package.json. Now imagine your project is a little big, right,
Yeah.
and you are building on top of that.
Yeah.
So will it have that context, the whole project, whatever methodologies you've used, right, the way you have structured your project? So will it take that into context and then give you the plan, or will you have to specify it like you did, right? You just mentioned package or JSON or something like that.
Yeah.
So it'll read that, and then based on that, it'll answer your questions and everything.
So basically, the way you have to look is like, when I started, I was just focused on the product side.
Okay.
Okay. When your project size is big, which means your product is so big.
Mm-hmm.
Now you don't need to feed the entire product. You might only want that slice which is touching that feature.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you only want to describe that. Now for that, if you have any documentation, product level or technical level, or maybe your README file, right? Start providing that. Again, to set the boundary from the start.
Okay.
If I wouldn't have given the packet.json, it might have assumed that I'm using a Python project because I was in ask mode, not in agent mode. In ask mode, it will not go and automatically read a file.
Okay, but in the other mode,
In
the
agent mode, it will
developer,
read. But the point is like in agent mode, it will also start writing the code, which we don't want. Because initially we just want to do the brainstorming where we don't care about the code, but we still want to set a context. It's just like when you talk to a developer, right? You might just say this is a Node.js project and
Then
we want to
when
build
you talk to a developer, the developer has the context of the project, right?
let's say it's a new developer. What will you do now? Because for you, LLM is always new. Right? If I just open a new chat, it's a new LLM for me.
Exactly. So that's what my question is. Since the agent mode already has the context, right?
Yeah.
Can't it?
But then you can't control in agent mode how much context you want. It can go and read the entire folder. Do you want to do that? And then once the context size becomes bigger, the solution what you want to expect might not be the right one because the hallucination and all those things might start happening. Again, depends on models to models. If I use Gemini Flash for example, right, it is one of the biggest. It has one of the biggest context window, so it can take the entire code base also.
Okay.
But the output is not that great compared to 3.7 or the O3 mini kind of models. So you have to be very specific what models you're using.
Thanks.
Yeah, please go ahead.
So does using AI make you choose a particular architectural style? Like you need to break it down to really small components, or or things like that? Or is it much better if you do that, or having much larger monolithic code bases, does it make it harder to use AI assisted
So
coding?
you have to now start fitting your entire development in the way LLM can understand. So let's say if you are building a new product, I cannot feed in the entire product to it. I'll have to start slicing. In that slice also, I might have to start the slice front end, back end, monitoring and something differently. Because bigger the context size, higher chances of hallucination. So think from the perspective, if I want to get this particular thing done, let me just be focused on that. When it comes to architecture, we are still preferring a domain driven way and not asking the AI to design that. So even for this particular thing, the setting up this entire project, I didn't ask AI to initialize the project. I did it myself. Because what I've experienced, if I ask Sonnet to do that, it creates a packet.json manually and adds the library manually into it rather than using the npx create latest next app. The downside for that is that it might use some older versions of library which I don't want. So that's why there are few pre-steps which I would still suggest developer to do it on its own. But those are like one-time things. But for further things, for example, I want to write a GitHub action, I'll ask AI to do it rather than me doing it.
One question from me. So
Yeah.
I can see that there's some linting that it's suggesting, right?
Yeah.
So one thing is that linting is already a solved issue, wherein like there are tools which do it for you, and they do it fast enough. So my concern is like one thing is like like are you wasting time by giving it to your LLM to do it or your cursor to do it? The second thing is how much do you trust the linting rules to be applied? Like can it go wrong in doing that?
See, there are two types of linting rules. One is like literally a space issue or something like that, which can be fixed automatically. But if there's a type error, now that for that you have to manually do it. Even autofix cannot do, and that's where cursor rules can come into play. You can say ignore all the linting errors, just go ahead with that. And at the end, you can ask another cursor, add another cursor rule by saying that now go and fix the linting errors, right? So there is something. Okay, it's trying to run this now.
Can I export my cursor rules?
Yes, at the team level you can do it. So basically, if I create a new cursor rule, for example, one second. So let me just demo you. So I can just do new cursor rule, and if you see, it started adding a new cursor. Let's say TypeScript, for example. So there are types of rules you want. So if you say it is always auto attach, agent request, and manual. These are very important because if the rule is on about writing a standardizing of the code, right? You don't want it to be always. You only want it to be agent mode or when agent or auto attached. Because when I'm brainstorming with my AI, I might not need what is the exact way of writing a TypeScript. So these are the rules which you can configure and you can basically summarize it. This is again another important thing. What all rules you want in the content. Uh, yeah, and there are a lot of open source rules as well, but don't be blind with copy pasting it. There have been rules which are treated as malicious attacks as well. There have been blogs I've read where people are blindly copy pasting the cursor rules, and that seems to be a attack on the system completely. I'll just check what it has done. There are high chances that in the first attempt it will not work. So yeah, you see there is a nice camera button over here. I'll click on that. I'll say describe this image. Okay, fingers crossed. Oh, sorry, let me see the terminal. There are errors. Perfect. So there are errors now, and this is where you start take help from AI to debug this particular thing. That why I'm getting this error. So a good way that I can just copy paste this, or let me do it in the editor itself because. Uh, yeah.
So had you written test cases, would it fix these?
Yeah. So I'll give you an instance that how it's going to fix it now.
Okay.
Okay.
No, had you written test cases, these errors wouldn't have come. Is what my question is. Would it like run this?
I'll not be that confident if I'm integrating a third-party library that in first attempt it will be completely done. But again, that's the downside also, right? So even I'll not be 100% sure if I would have done this and it will work 100% nicely. I'll not take that claim also.
Also, if you write test cases, will it run those test cases like
Yeah,
manually?
yeah. So you can guide it.
Okay.
You can guide it that, run the test cases. And the downside of the test case is also that, you mock basically everything. So when you mock, you don't know what is the end system going to do over here.
You
So here,
can't
if you see
mock
the
user
error,
behavior, yeah.
exactly. So it will pass the test case, but when you run the actual application, it might fail.
Oh, okay. Understood.
Right?
Thanks.
So I'm going to rerun this once. So it will give me some error, and what I can do is I can just so there's a button on add to chat. I can just say, please fix this. Now you have to be very careful when you go in this. This is also called as vibe debugging, just like vibe coding, because this can be an infinite loop now. And that's where I said, vibe coding is still not there yet. We have seen instances where test cases were failing. After a couple of retries, it just dot skip. Like just skip the test case, it's working fine. We have seen instances there was a type error, it was not able to fix it. At the end, it just said TS ignore and fix it. So be very careful when you're using all these things. So that's why we are not at the stage where we want vibe coding, because this is the developer practice what we want. I want my test cases to be written. I don't want the linting errors and all those things. So that I understood something, I'll fix the error related to. Let's see. I'll give this as a last try and then I'll end the session. Okay, let's fix this approach.
Was that your prompt? Let's fix our approach.
No, it generates on its own.
Even in agent mode, it will think.
No, it will not think. Again,
It thought, right?
no, I have disabled it. It basically went to the history and understood few things. There's no specific thinking capability right now. I've turned it off. Yeah, I've turned it off. Also, thinking will impact your slowness, because when you are in agent mode, it also has a lot of file context. Ideally, you're not supposed to blindly accept all also. It's just that because of this session, we are just going with that. Whatever code it is writing, you're supposed to review it, understand it, and then accept it. Let me read the error meanwhile. Okay, so basically the error is talking about the data set what you're sending it to the LLM. That is not in the correct structure. That's why we are getting a XORD error. So it's doing some image URL and whatnot. I don't know if this is going to work. Okay, I'll retry it once last time. Oh, there you go. It works. So, yeah, that's it. Any questions?
Hi, I'm Deepak. So, I mean, this is really cool to see.
Yeah.
Just wanted to know, do you do this regularly in your work, or is that, I mean, can you really depend on um, uh, stuff to get done using an AI?
So we are trying it out. I'll not say that we have 100% been successful, because these kind of things comes up, right?
Yeah. That's what I'm
And,
trying to understand. So,
so me and Srinath are working closely with this, along with
Okay.
Equal Express. Prashant is also with us.
Okay.
And 2 months ago, we were at a different mindset, but right now we are different, because every day we are learning new things. How do
Right.
we talk to LLM? That's the most important thing.
Right.
what is the boundary you're setting, and every day we are finding some new nuances of the LLM or even the human. We have learned that hard way that it's not the LLM issue at all, it's our
Right.
issue.
Right.
Because how do you talk to our journey was like, take this entire folder, tell me how to write the code,
Right.
and that never worked out.
Yeah. Sure.
So yeah, we are trying it out, we are learning, but we have not been 100% successful yet.
Okay. Have you given it a workspace and continued working on it, and has it learned? So what I'm trying to understand is, so sometimes when you ask it to write a test, it does mocking in a certain way. Sometimes it does a at mock. Sometimes it does open mocks. So um, uh, over time, does it learn that okay, this is how it is done in a project, and does it? Do you have that
So
experience?
I'll answer you that question by assuming that if someone is in your team, how will that person do it?
Yeah.
Right? They basically look at the code, they
Yeah.
understand how it is there. If there is nothing added, let's say there is no integration suite added, right, for mocking or something like that.
Yeah.
Ideally, that developer will have a discussion with the team
Right.
to understand it. What library should we use? Should we use my wire mock or super test or whatnot, right?
Right.
There's a discussion, and that's your brainstorming session. Your brainstorming is not only for the product; you can also do it for the tech. Let's say I want to start adding an integration test suite, right? I can have that brainstorming in the ask mode with the thinking, and ask that this is my project structure, this is my package.json. Please suggest me how do we go about it.
Okay.
And then it can tell you the good things, the bad things, the pros and the cons, and everything about it.
Yeah. So sorry, what I was trying to understand is, have you worked with this in a certain workspace or a certain project over time, and does it understand standards that you use unless you tell it to specifically?
So for LLMs, documentation is the key. So let's say if I'm building this project using AI, right, I will start documenting all these things.
Right.
So that in the next feature, when I start integrating it, it understands what it was integrated, and it becomes a kind of a rule for it. Along with that, I also add cursor rules. So at the end, maybe if this is working and let's say it has fixed something, I can ask like, why don't you generate a kind of a things what you followed and generate that as a cursor rule.
Right.
So that can become a cursor rule for me. So the next attempt when it does, it understands the workspace now, and it does the way you want. But one more catch to that is that again, the LLM kind of model what you're using is important. Let's say you end up having 100 rules. Now what is happening is that all the 100 rules are applicable, but now your context window, skipping entire product, it's only filled with rules.
Right.
So now when you start adding your product context, it might start ignoring the rules because now you're having a latest context getting added. So that's the limitation of the LLM today, but let's see how it keeps growing.
Cool. Thank you.
So hi. So when you were doing the vibe debugging,
Yeah.
so at that time there is a chance of getting into infinity loop
Yeah.
and not getting resolved. So is it the issue with the LLM or with the cursor tool? How the tool has been designed in the agentic workflow? So is it a issue with the tool or the LLM?
It's the issue with us, I would say. Because let's
Ourselves.
say, yeah. So let's say you're pairing with me right now. The way we look at the error thing, we first talk rather than directly writing the code, right? So what I did, I just took the error, add to chat, fix it. Instead of that, I would have said that, okay, this is the error I'm getting, but I see the error is with the Zod error, which means that the kind of prompts what you're sending to the LLM, that's not correct. Maybe this is an issue. Can you help me? If I just change this approach, there are high chances the next attempt will work fine. So it's always about how you're talking. So one ground rule, don't treat LLM as a robot, just treat it like there is someone person remote sitting and pairing with you. If you just change this mindset, right, your outputs will be much better.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Done?
Just it's random thought. Right now, how comfortable are we? Imagine right now, what you did is you asked the whole thing to be written by agent or something. So can we coexist? Like we can use AI and we can intervene and then we can provide some input or like change some content and then uh, let the AI take over after that, and then like just working in parallel is what I'm saying.
So we have tried that, and the result is confliction. So let's say that it generated a code. After that, I went and edited it, and then I asked that there is a new issue. Why don't you check that? What it also reads that this code is not exactly like what AI wrote, so it goes and changes that because it doesn't understand that you have made a change. But if you just say that I've made a change to this code, ignore that part and then do it, it will work fine.
Because where I'm coming from is since we can't depend entirely on AI right now, right? It's not that.
Yeah. We are not at that stage right now.
Because we'll have to work in parallel only with it. So are we at a stage we are comfortable with that? It was my question.
It's a process what we are learning, everyone, right? Like vibe coding is still the future, but I feel that prompting is the most important thing. How are you conversing with the AI? That's the golden rule over here. Code is just a byproduct of the conversation, right? So if you converse well, set the boundaries, give the correct context, the code will be in a good shape. Cool. Okay, cool then. That's it. Yeah, Sunil. Yeah.
So not as a question, the thing is that like what I know or experience with the LLM or certain things, it gives you a answer so much of confidence, you believe that is right.
Yeah.
So anybody who's accepting that responses, right, you need to be reading it. Even though now we are trying to demo, it's probably we didn't read a lot of things, right? So when you're doing it, you have to read it exactly what it is and try to accept what it is needed. And answering the kind of question with the style of the programming, right? So when you're prompting it, it's actually it gives you what is the solution, is acceptable or not.
Yeah.
If as a developer, if you modify it, it
Yes.
learns on its own, and during that time, it makes the changes immediately. That's where I like it both. But again, it comes with pros and cons, both things.
Yes.
So still, when you're pairing with it, you have to think you are the person who's driving it rather than other person is doing it.
Yeah. Just like how in traditional pair programming, driver navigator, right? You can't be blind that your driver is going to follow the route what you have suggested. If it takes a wrong left, you're supposed to stop it there. Wait, don't take this left, take the next left. That's exactly you have to treat with LLM also. If it's going in a wrong file and writing wrong code, again, you can be 100% confident it's not going to write Python in a JavaScript file. That's a confidence you can take it from it. But yeah, you have to always be the navigator over there.
May I respond to that? I've found myself second guessing my hallucination judgments also.
Srinath,
And
can you be louder?
so I was telling Sunil that I'm second guessing my hallucination judgments as well. There were many instances where there was code produced or configuration produced which straight out errored out, but then you realize it was for a older version because the knowledge cutoff of the LLM was like from 1 year ago or so, and it works perfectly fine for the older one. So what I thought was a hallucination was perfectly okay code given the knowledge cutoff that the LLM had.
And I face the challenge.
Yeah.
Okay. That's it. Thank you, everyone.